Hello, SpongicX here, and today I am going to review one of the first Sonic games I ever played all the way through, and that is Sonic Adventure 2. Now, while this wasn't my very first Sonic game ever played, the first one I ever played was actually at an old babysitter's of mine. She had an old Sega Genesis with Sonic the Hedgehog, and so I never played that all the way through, though. The first I made it to was like a Labyrinth Zone, and that was it, but... So, Sonic Adventure 2, this was when Sega finally went multi-platform, so... after I got a GameCube, one of the first games I rented was Sonic Adventure 2, which was previously released on the Dreamcast, but re-released on the GameCube as Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, with a few additional multiplayer purposes and a few major differences or minor differences, but for the most part, it was mostly the same game, but without the Big the Cat cameos throughout, and so this was the Steam version on computer, and they restored the Big the Cat cameos on this HD version of Sonic Adventure 2, which is in full screen format, and I apologize, but the video quality may vary in some of these because I was trying out different video settings because the default video setting on my laptop just didn't run this game at a smooth frame rate, so I had to go back and replay level 1 after beating the story modes just so I could get this cutscene in. So all of a sudden the cutscene is in widescreen format, but then when the gameplay starts it'll be in a small screen format, but eventually I kept messing around with the settings so where I was eventually able to get it running on widescreen, but with a faster frame rate, and I mean, God, that shows how bad my computer is. It can't even run an old Dreamcast game at a proper frame rate. So, I've expressed this before, but personally, I'm a bigger fan of Sonic Adventure. Adventure 2 definitely has its moments, though, but either way, both games have aged terribly, and I wish they would make a remake or a reboot of them, where they tell the stories more properly, more cinematically, but then spice up the gameplay, fix the gameplay. But, yeah, this is the level that everyone remembers, City Escape. I gotta admit, this is one memorable way to start off a game. Just, roaming through the city with this catchy as heck theme song playing throughout. Sonic's on the run from the police after, at first we don't understand why, but the more you play the game, you understand that he was framed by a hedgehog that looks like him. Or people think it looks like him, at least. Cause, yeah, fans have pointed out how it's stupid how everyone mistook Shadow for Sonic, but you can make the argument, though, it was nighttime, and so they just saw the dark silhouette of Sonic, so they didn't realize, they were looking at a black hedgehog instead of a blue one. That's the only good defense I have for it, but then there's no excusing why Amy mistook Shadow for Sonic in broad daylight. That is just embarrassing, but... I swear, some of these controls are irresponsible at times. Well, unresponsive, I mean. It's like, I pressed the A button right on that ramp, so I should have done a trick off of it, but it didn't work. And I hate how, originally I had this on, I had the HD version of this on PS3 previously, and that was the first and only time I ever 100%ed this game, because when I originally had it on GameCube, I did not get everything unlocked, so I did not get all the A ranks, but ever since I got the PS3 version, I actually attempted doing it, and it took many frustrating hours and retries, but eventually I got it, and so I was able to unlock the hidden level Green Hill Zone. Yeah, they did like, it was pretty fun at the time when they did a 3D remake of Green Hill Zone, long before it was oversaturated in all these celebration games like Sonic Generations, Sonic Forces, yada yada, but yeah, that was really hard to unlock. You had to get like an A rank on every single level and submission. You have to collect all the emblems, and it was really frustrating. And so, I hate how they didn't bother porting this game to PlayStation 4. I mean, it's like, darn it, if only I got the Xbox 360 version 100% of that, because then I could have just, download the game when it was ported to Xbox One through backwards compatibility. Then I wouldn't have lost any of my save data, but because PlayStation 4 is so stingy because Sony's so stingy with backwards compatibility, I lost all that save data when I sold my PS3 for PS4, and yeah, that sucks. And so, then I had to get this, and then I got the Steam version to make up for it, and, I haven't touched it in a while, though, but, I decided to, actually start over, and, so, yeah, this is my playthrough of it, giving my thoughts from beginning to end, and This might not be a full playthrough, though. There might be some levels that were just too frustrating to watch, so I was messing up real badly. So there are definitely going to be segments I'm going to be skipping, but, yeah, this game is pretty wonky. Sometimes the graphics and gameplay, not the graphics, but the gameplay, it really becomes unresponsive at times, really wonky, and not as bad as Sonic Adventure DX, but still pretty frustrating, and that's another reason I want remakes of these games. And okay, let's just get this out of the way. The graphics and voice acting in this have aged terribly, but the Chow Garden, though, that is a heavily missed feature, and it was incredibly improved upon Sonic Adventure 2 compared to its original version in Sonic Adventure. And, you know, after playing some of these frustrating segments and then getting warped straight to the Chow Garden, it reminds me of why it was so special, because, yeah, some people got frustrated with some of these, ridiculous and faulty levels of the Sonic games, and so it was fun how right after you just dropped into this little virtual pet simulator, it gives you a chance to calm yourself down, you know, take some deep breaths and just sit back and relax and watch these adorable little Chow growing up and, you know, start raising them and all that, and it was really fun, and I wish they'd bring it back and improve upon it. There's just so much they could do with a new Chow Garden, and you know, I'd love to see other characters interacting with them, because we still haven't seen a game where we got to see, like, Silver, or Blaze, or the Chaotix interact with Chow, and, I think what would be neat, though, is how they have it where, depending on what character you're playing as, they can help increase certain stats of these Chow quicker. So, it's like, in a future game, imagine every time you're playing as Sonic and taking care of a Chow, it'll, boost their running speed, the more you feed them or take care of them, and then with Tails, it would increase their flight. With Knuckles, their power. Amy, maybe their stamina. And there's just, you know, there's also new traits they could possibly introduce for them, though. Kind of like although they have a proper Chow Garden, I remember how Sonic Chronicles, you gotta get, like, elemental Chow, so they had, like, powers of fire or ice. It would be kind of cool to see, like, elemental Chow in a future game. I'd love to see how they could evolve the series. But, while the 3D models in this game are a huge improvement over the ones we saw in Sonic Adventure, I mean, they're definitely dated nowadays, though, but compared to Sonic Adventure, the 3D models were a huge improvement, but I feel like the coloring, the shading, and the lighting is a huge downgrade in this game. I'm not just comparing it to the Adventure DX version, even the original Dreamcast version. Those, like, Adventure had some pretty good, you know, lighting or shading for its time. It's very dated nowadays, but when you look back at how other games look, like, you look at the N64 or PlayStation 1, and then you look at, those games on the Dreamcast, Sonic Adventure looked pretty good for its time, and so Adventure 2, I don't know, the game just looks too dark overall, and some of the 3D models, like, when they're standing next to each other, you can tell it's like they had some coloring issues. It's like, for some reason, Knuckles has dark skin in this game, and that just doesn't... You look at his character artwork, he has, like, the same skin color as Sonic. Well, like, a tan color, I mean. And so, Knuckles almost looks like he's black in this game, and it just looks weird on him, because you know that's not how he's supposed to look like. And there are certain times where Rouge the Bat, this was her introduction, but once again, you compare it to her concept art, or how she looks in every other Sonic adaptation of anything, and you can just look at the skin color and say, it doesn't look right. I don't know. I don't like the color schemes very much in this game. Sonic Adventures definitely look better, both the original and even arguably the DX version, but I know there's a big division on which one looks better, the original or the DX version. Both are drastically different looking games, despite being the exact same game overall, but... But, I mean, the shapes of the characters are really cool for their time. I mean, unlike Sonic Adventure 1, the characters actually have modeled fingers this time. They barely use them, though. I don't think they're really flexible, but...
What?
So, yeah, this was the game that introduced Shadow the Hedgehog, back when he was still a good character. I hate what Sega has done to him nowadays. They turned him into a joke. Yes, I'll even admit his portrayal in Shadow the Hedgehog, the one that everyone makes fun of. That is better than how he's portrayed nowadays. yes, they were trying way too hard to make him edgy by having him swear and, you know, letting players decide if he should be good or bad. Yeah, it's like, it was a pretty cringy thing. I remember as a kid when it first came out, I thought it looked really cool, but over the years, it's like, yeah, it looks like they were trying way too hard. But I'll take that version of Shadow over whatever the hell they've been doing with him ever since Sonic Generations, especially Sonic Boom, Sonic Forces. I just hate what's become of Shadow. He's just become a dick. Or Sonic Free Riders, that was when they started treating him very differently. He was just a jerk in that game for no reason. It's like, in the original game, he had a reason to be Sonic's rival, because, you know, Sonic was framed by him, so when Sonic sees him, he thinks he's a doppelganger, basically. He thinks, he's, you know, intentionally trying to frame him, and so it sets up a rivalry between the two. And then, you know, after all they've been through, and then Shadow's sacrificed at the end of this game, being brought back in Sonic Heroes, and then learning the truth in Sonic Heroes, the next game that came out was Sonic 06, and, I mean, yeah, it was a game that a lot of people don't want to remember, but Shadow was a more likable character, and I've seen people defend that. They say Shadow was actually good in that game. Not only his portrayal, but even his story. His interaction with his old team, Rouge the Bat and Omega, as established in Sonic Heroes, it was stronger than ever. And yeah, Shadow was just a real interesting character in that game, and to me, that was the last time Shadow was good. I mean, it wasn't as good as his introduction to Sonic Adventure 2. That's the one that everyone remembers Shadow for. But, yeah, I don't know. I just hate what's become of Shadow over the years. It's like, it's almost enough to make you wish they just left him for dead if they were going to keep mocking his legacy like that. But, like, obviously, Sonic Adventure 2 was not written the best. The dialogue is really cringy, and the voice acting makes it worse. I don't know why there are people who think this is the best Sonic voice cast. This was the worst, in my opinion. I mean, I'll admit, when I grew up and watched Sonic X for the first time, I was puzzled when I saw the characters sounding so differently, and while they weren't perfect, I'll say they were a huge improvement over what you heard in the Dreamcast games. And you could argue some of the voice actors got a little better in Sonic Heroes, but it still wasn't good enough, and the dialogue was still bad. But, yeah, just watching the cutscenes in this is very cringy. The awkward mouth movements, they are a slight improvement over what we saw in Sonic Adventure, along with the animation, but it still looks too robotic, too janky, and the lip sync is terrible. And you could argue it's because this was made like an old anime, where the mouth movements were made for, you know, Japanese language, but then they had a mixed English voice acting with it, and they just didn't do a very good job at trying to rewrite it to match. And yeah, the dialogue in this really does feel like it was a bad translation of Japanese language into English. So the delivery is awkward, the exposition is really awkward, and I don't know, I just do not like how badly this game has aged. And it's funny how you didn't even notice this when you first played it as a kid, but you look back at it now and it's just hard to watch. And I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but I am not a fan of Knuckles' levels. Like, I'll admit his gameplay is a huge improvement over what we saw in the first Sonic Adventure. Like, his punch attacks feel more responsive, and even his moveset is a huge improvement, but I still hate the treasure hunt stages, even Rouge's. I mean, Rouge was an interesting idea for a character, but the fact that her gameplay was just a clone of Knuckles' gameplay from Sonic Adventure really ruined it. And then the Knuckles raps, the music that loops over and over in these levels, I absolutely hate it. It got so annoying and repetitive. I mean, the background music is really cool and catchy. I wish there was a way you could shut off the vocals and just listen to the music. But nope, you're forced to constantly listen to these cringy rap lyrics over and over, and it's like almost all of them are the same thing. It starts off with like, yo, this is Knuckles, and we're at whatever the level's name is. And it's like, oh, shut up. Yeah, I am not a fan of Knuckles' gameplay in the Sonic Adventure games, and I'd rather it be more like a beat-em-up kind of mode. Like, have it be like Sonic's gameplay, but have more reliance on close combat, just punching out waves of enemies while trying to make your way to the goal. That would be more fun, but instead they thought a treasure hunt would be a fun idea, and Then the hint system in this is terrible. They're like these computers, and you can only get 3 messages at a time, but you have to, after you read one message, you gotta wait a bit of time and find another to get another hint, and it really sucks, like, especially how there are challenges where they expect you to beat these under, like, 3 minutes or something like that, and in order to get an A ranking, and it can be really hard when the hint system decides to be a dick towards you, and yeah, this is not a fun game to try 100%ing. I mean, Sonic Adventure was a pesky game to 100% through, but Sonic Adventure 2 was arguably worse. And it doesn't help, though, that this game is just not meant for speedrunning, and despite how they really want hardcore players to attempt it, though. There's so many unlockables you can only get through A ranking through many levels, including all levels, and that looks weird. It looks like a booger's coming out of the statue nose, but... so, yeah, I really don't like how... it's like, for instance, there are a lot of levels where they want you to speed through things, but then because of how wonky the camera is, how bad the controls are, sometimes the collision are, it just makes speedrunning through this a mess. To the point where when I'm revisiting this game, it's like, I try going fast, but then I keep messing up terribly, so then it forces me to have to try playing the level cautiously, and it's like, I hate that.
I found him.
I want to be able to rush through these stages, but these stages just aren't built for that, and...
Not too bad.
And it is cool how there are 2 separate story modes in this, though, one for the hero side and one for the dark side, but the problem is they feel too similar to each other. They feel like clones. Like, Rouge the Bat's first stage in this feels like a reskin of Knuckles'. It has a very similar layout, where it's like there's 2 separate rooms, with the second room having different divisions. With Knuckles' level, you have to get through there by standing through a windstorm in the middle of the canyon. For Rouge, it's a little different, but it's like, if you look closely, you'll notice the level layout is very, very similar. So, Rouge's, it's like you gotta get a ride from a turtle for it to go underwater to take you to the next area. But then it's like you look at the shape of the other room, you see like how it has these forking paths, and it makes you realize it's basically a clone of Knuckles' level, but with a tropical desert theme, or an oasis theme, I mean, and I don't know, I just don't like how this game recycles way too much. It's like Sonic and Shadow, their first levels are basically a giant city level. Eggman and Tails get city levels, Eggman and Sonic get harbor levels, a few characters get space levels, and I don't know, I just didn't like the repetition. But I'll admit, though, I like how they actually sold all these separate modes as one story mode, though. How back then, well, I mean, how nowadays, it's like when people try making video games, it's like they'll try selling these separate modes as DLC and stuff like that. I mean, or separate games entirely. Fire Emblem Fate. And then, not only that, but when you beat the 2 story modes, all of a sudden you're given a 3rd and final story mode, and no additional payments needed. Kingdom Hearts 3? God, this part is so painful to watch. The exposition from Tails is just so poorly executed and delivered. I'll admit that water looks pretty good for its time, though.
What? Hey, look, it's Amy. And Eggman, too. What's Amy doing here? Doesn't matter. I have to help Amy because she's in danger.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, this is just so bad. Then that's the other thing that bugged me about this game. Tails. He went from a fun character you gotta run and fly around as to a character who's constantly stuck in a machine. Now, it's like the machine gameplay can be fun in small doses, but I felt like there were way too many levels of not only this, but even the treasure hunting stages, and it would have been one thing if only Eggman got levels like these, but even Tails, it's like, there are just so many times where it's like, darn it, I want to get out of this freaking machine, and so if they ever rebooted this game, or remade the game, please change his gameplay to where he can actually get out of it, and then you can just press a button to resummon the vehicle. make moments where you have to get out of the vehicle and do some actual physical flight or platforming. And then there are certain moments where you need to press a button for Tails to summon his vehicle back. It's like, that would be fun. I'd love to be able to get in and out of your vehicle like that.
Wow, Tails, you did it.
Ugh, I hated the old voice cast. Back then, Amy was a character I absolutely hated, and this game was my introduction to her. And so it's amazing how nowadays she's one of my favorite characters, but this was a rough start. She was so annoying, and she just felt so useless and whiny back then, and I'm so thankful for how much development they've given her over the years. I just wish they would use her more, though. It's like, the best she's been in were, like, the modern day comics, but it's like, let's see her act like that in the actual video games. And Sonic Boom almost tried treating her like a more serious character, like when you look at how she was introduced in Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, but then the TV show happened, and they made her a joke. She's just constantly a nagging character that everyone's ignoring, and she always just has a bad run of luck, and it got tiring. It's like, it's especially painful because they tried introducing Amy, like, they wanted her to be a role model in this series, but then you see her constantly getting stepped on by others, and it's like, oh yeah, real good role model you guys made. Arguably, she was more cool in Rise of Lyric, and that's the game that everyone whines about. And I'm just gonna say it though, I liked Rise of Lyric more than Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces was a piece of shit, but Rise of Lyric, it was faulty, but I had fun with it though. It was fun while it lasted, but I cannot say the same about Sonic Forces. I was just groaning right from the start. Well, I'll admit the shooting and aiming controls in this are a huge improvement over what we saw in Sonic Adventure, because this is obviously inspired by E102 Gamma's gameplay. I'll say Gamma was more fun to control, though. He was faster, he could jump higher and a little farther. And, yeah, the mechanical controls in this are just way too clunky. Arguably, I'd say Eggman was more fun to control. I mean, they mostly feel exactly the same, but there's something about Eggman, though. He just felt like, I don't know how to describe it. I just felt more comfortable controlling him compared to Tails. And it doesn't help that in some of the later levels, they rely on a lot of platforming, and these controls just weren't made for platforming. It's like trying to turn a tank driving game into a platformer. And, while the lock-on shooting is really cool, the manual shooting is terrible. Like, just tapping the shoot button to shoot, like, these little missiles, and they just don't work really well. It's like you're aiming at a crate, and you're constantly shooting at it, and it's just missing every time, it feels like. And, this just feels so wrong. And I wish this game had proper camera controls. I mean, you can press the L and right buttons to... or the trigger buttons, I mean, shoulder buttons to rotate the camera a bit, but you can use the right analog stick, but only for moving left and right. And a part of me is like, darn, I wish they modified this game to have, like, vertical camera movements. This game would have been so much more convenient if you could swerve the camera up or down, especially in the Knuckles levels, because there are many times where you gotta glide, but it doesn't help show you what's above or below you, and that's where camera controls like that would have benefited. And once again, I want a remake of this to reinvent the gameplay so it works with a modern console with modern gameplay standards, and that's what really frustrates me about these games, because back then they were really fun. You remember what it felt like to play these games through the eyes and mind of a child, but looking back on them now, you want to relive those memories, but you have to admit it has not aged well, and it pains me. I mean, there are so many games that I can go back to and still have a blast replaying, even with their flaws. I still love going back and playing Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, despite how those games have elements that have not aged very well, and even Donkey Kong 64, as infamous as that game can be. It's like, I don't think the game is perfect, though. The mini-games are terrible, but the main characters were memorable, the levels, the music, the boss fights. It's like, that game just has a lot a lot of good for it to the point where I can't hate it, but Sonic Adventure, it's like, while it had neat ideas, the execution should have been a lot better, so I just can't help but replay this game and imagine how much better it could have been. And that's the thing, though. These are the 3D Sonic games I prefer. I'd rather play faulty games like Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2 over games like Sonic Heroes, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Generations, Sonic Colors, especially Sonic Forces, and I just have more fun playing these games. These focused on more playable characters, where too many of the modern games just rely on just playing as Sonic or Shadow or some made-up character, classic Sonic, and I miss being able to play as different characters with different gameplay, different abilities. The problem is while it was a great idea of having different characters with different abilities, and I hated how the gameplay wasn't the same as Sonic's, though. And then you play a game like Sonic Advance, where it allows you to go through the same story as Sonic, but with Tails, Knuckles, or Amy. So with Tails, he can fly, create shortcuts. With Knuckles, he can punch enemies physically, he can climb up walls. With Amy, she's more like for expert players, because she's not able to attack people just by automatically jumping. You gotta press an attack button while she's jumping to swing her hammer. And so I like how, you know, each characters have like their own little handicaps or their own restrictions, and it was fun to try seeing if you could manage to beat the game with each character. And I want to see them do that with the Sonic game, make it where have the same race to the finish gameplay as Sonic in Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2, but give you the option to play as other characters and maybe find some secrets that only a certain character can reach and add to the replay value. And that's my biggest problem with these adventure games. There are so many times where I want to go back to it, but the game just feels like a tease. There's so much you want to do in these games, but you can't because this level is restricted for Sonic. And it's like, how much fun would that be if you could go back there and play it as Tails? And I hate this. Yeah, you get to play as Tails normally in the Chow Garden, but you can't do this in the other levels. And it's like, ugh, it feels like such torture.
Keep your voice down. Have no fear.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but I'll admit, I thought SpongicX did a better job with the story.
How'd you get here?
It's like, it still needed a lot of work, though, but when you compare it to the awkwardness of the original portrayal in Sonic Adventure 2, it's like the facial expressions, the use of music, and it just works with the story much better. This game relies too much on recycling the same music over and over, or they keep playing like a certain character's theme over certain scenes that it just doesn't match. So it's like a real dramatic scene can be happening, but then they have like this loud rock and roll music that's playing over the characters' voices, and it just does not work. And then the sound editing in this is terrible. Characters are constantly talking over each other before they even finish their sentences, and the timing is just way off, and this feels like it was incredibly rushed.
Wait for me, Sonic. He's such a brat sometimes.
I mean, although it wasn't perfect, though, someone showed that some of these cutscenes could have worked better if they were animated better. Like, I've seen people recreate these cutscenes with Source Filmmaker using the same low-quality sound clips from this game, but because of the additional facial expressions they added to the characters, and it somehow makes the scene more enjoyable. But you just can't help but think, like, okay, now if only they had better voice acting, it's like this matching with those reimagined visuals would work even better. And yeah, it's weird. Like, the facial expressions in this game are very weird. It's like a character is supposed to look sad or distressed or angry, but it looks like they have a big, wide-eyed smile on their face or something like it. It just looks really off. So the light speed dash is a huge improvement in this game, but it's also incredibly faulty. Sometimes it doesn't respond, and it's especially worse when you eventually get the bounce bracelet, which gives Sonic this cool ability that allows him to bounce on the ground and reach higher heights. But the problem is that it shares the same exact button as the light speed dash. So there are many times where you try using the light speed dash in mid-air to follow a trail of rings, but Sonic ends up curling into a ball and bouncing to his death. And yeah, that's really faulty, and I love how games like Sonic Unleashed actually fixed that. I mean, and that's a game that even ruined another feature, because they gave the dash button the same button you needed to use the homing attack, and thank goodness games like Sonic Colors and Generations fixed that by having the homing attack be shared with the jump button. Yeah, in Sonic Unleashed, they decided to give a separate button for the Lightspeed dash. So, you press like a certain button, you use the stomp attack when jumping in midair. That was like the replacement for the bounce attack, and I don't know what happened here, but this was strange. A weird error occurred that said internet connection required. Then the music started going mute, and so what I had to do was either die and respawn, or this happened at a later point in the game during Pumpkin Hill, and I just paused the game and resumed, and all of a sudden the audio was back. But I don't know what happened here. That was weird, but it only happened 2 times during my playthrough, and they all happened like pretty early on in the game. And this game is frustrating to try to speed run through because of how faulty it is. Sonic's hand growing out of his head? What the heck? Where'd Sonic get that board from? I mean, it made sense earlier in the game. It showed that he got it from a piece of the helicopter he escaped from. Yeah, revisiting this game, especially after, watching the adaptation of this in SpongicX, it makes me realize how rushed and unexplained the story was, to the point where that's why I was kind of thankful that SpongicX retold this story in a more episodic form, TV series form, and they filled in a lot of blanks. They even bothered trying to connect the events of Sonic Adventure into Adventure 2 a lot better. It shows how this takes place right after the events of Adventure. Like, you see how Sonic's trying to help the citizens evacuate after, Perfect Chaos flooded the city and destroyed a lot of buildings. So you see Sonic looking for survivors, and yeah, that was neat how they tried linking it. So it shows what Sonic was doing while Eggman found out about like his grandfather's research, which kicks off the dark story mode in this game. Because the game just starts off where Eggman's giving off exposition on how his great-grandfather has something secret hidden in this facility that he's breaking into, and it's like, okay, great exposition, but when did he find this out? Why did he find this out? And it's like, at least SpongicX tried fitting this stuff together, and it doesn't feel like it's just exposition being dropped on you out of nowhere. It actually feels like it came from somewhere, and it helps that SpongicX was a series that had many episodes that came before that season, so it helped get you introduced to this version of Sonic, the city and all that. And the only problem is the human characters were so forgettable, and that's what I absolutely hated about the Adventure 2 adaptation of Sonic X, how it forced in all these characters nobody wanted to see. Chris Thorndike.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Huh. You're not even good enough to be my...
I mean, Sonic just said that right before he even finished his sentence. I'll make you eat those unfinished words. Yeah, this is what happened there, but yeah, the rival battles in this game are really unfun. These are some of the most frustrating parts of the game. They just feel way too unpredictable, and it's real easy to mess up during these parts. And some of them feel broken as hell, especially with how the CPUs can spam like attacks that can only be used in multiplayer mode, and you're not even given the option to use these ultimate attacks. And, yeah, it's really stupid. Green Forest. A lot of people seem to hate this level. I don't hate it, but I agree it is faulty, though. And Shadow's version of this level is so much better. Shadow gets a level called White Forest.
Hurry and get back here right now before the island blows up with you on it.
Blows up?
But, yeah, that's the thing I like about Sonic Adventure better, though. I thought the intertwining stories were more interesting compared to how they are in Sonic Adventure 2, where the cutscenes where the characters meet up with each other are practically the exact same thing you saw before. So if you start off with Team Hero and then play Team Dark later, the cutscenes where the characters meet up are almost exactly the same. There's, like, barely any differences or even no differences at times. And so it makes you just want to skip those cutscenes because you're like, oh, I've already seen this. And I like how Sonic Adventure, they can show a lot of what happened before or after those cutscenes. It's like Sonic Adventure 2 does have a few rare instances like that, but not enough of them. I like how, you know, it's like in Sonic Adventure, there were like moments where Sonic and Tails were teamed up together, but then something happened and it caused them to get separated. So when you're playing as Tails' story mode, it showed what happened to Tails in the meantime. We already knew what happened to Sonic because we played through his story, but it shows you what Tails was doing and what he was doing before he caught up to Sonic again. And I love how all those stories just matched up in the end. And so Sonic Adventure 2, because you got less characters intertwining with each other, or less story, you know, there's only 3 stories in this game. And two of them are basically the exact same thing, but with different sides. And it is fun. Like, it is fun to see like the scenes where the characters don't intertwine with each other, though. Because those are the most drastic out of them all. Because there are certain scenes where you'll see Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy interacting with each other, and obviously you won't see that in Team Dark, where the main characters there are Shadow, Rouge, and Dr. Eggman. So yeah, there are a lot of differences, but the scenes where all the characters meet up, though, it's like, if you saw it on one side, you've already seen it. It's like there's almost no point in watching it if you're playing Team Dark after playing Team Hero, and yeah. I'll admit, though, like, with Shadow's version of this level, the level itself and the music are just much better than Sonic's. I don't think this is a bad level, though. Like, some people think this is a bad level, and I just think there are some layout issues, though. Like, you don't want to try spin dashing in this section, otherwise Sonic might launch off of it. And then the light speed dash is very unresponsive in many parts, especially early on in this level. There are times where you try using it, but Sonic just doesn't respond to them. He just rolls, but doesn't latch onto the light speed dash. And, yeah, that's real frustrating. Shadow's version of this level is so much better. I will admit, though, the level design in this game, while it's still wonky, it is a huge improvement over Sonic Adventure. It's like Sonic Adventure had many glitches where characters could run through the floor, or they try running across like a certain terrain like that, but then they just launch off to the side like crazy and fall to their death. And there are less moments like that in this game, as long as you're being more cautious. It doesn't feel like you'll run off just because you were playing the game normally. For the most part, there are definitely some levels where they feel incredibly faulty. Knuckles and Rouge's stages especially.
Cool.
So I think this is the last Sonic game to use the A... Well, this is the first and last Sonic game to have the highest rank be the A rank. Because, yeah, some games use the ranking systems when completing a level, and so for Sonic Adventure, it didn't have a ranking system. Sonic Adventure 2 was the first one to use the ranking system, but it had a ranking system from E to A. And so, ever since Sonic Heroes, they introduced a greater rank than the A rank, and that's the S rank. So I'll bet that upset a lot of players, like, who played a level and they thought they did real good, and then they got an A rank, and then eventually they see there's something called an S rank, and they realize, oh, I guess I didn't get a perfect score that first time. So I'm not going to bother showing every single time I stopped at the Chow Garden. I just wanted to, you know, give a little idea of what it's like to see the progression for those who may have never played this game before. And I am at least going to show what it's like to be in the Chow Garden with one character each. So at this point, I've already done it with every single character in Team Sonic, or Team Hero. I kind of miss this version of Sonic, like this design you see here. where his quills just kind of like they looked a little sharper and spikier, and the way they kind of like stretched down like a hairstyle. And nowadays they just stick straight out and they don't curve downward like they used to. I don't know. I love that design in the old Sonic Adventure games. I wish they would reinvent that. You know, like use a more updated model of Sonic, but try to recapture that hairstyle he used to have. Okay, I don't get why people love this level so much. I hate it. Hate the song, and I hate the level layout, and just not a fan of this.
I have to hurry and find the Master Emerald.
So yeah, I like how you can find these little upgradable items throughout the game. Some of them are necessary to progress through the story, but then there's some that are optional to get and pretty much required in order to get an S rank in certain missions. But I hate how cluttered they feel, especially with characters like Knuckles. It's like, once you get all of Knuckles' items, he is hideous to look at. It looks like he's suffocating. In fact, there's even a Sonic short that made a funny joke about that, where it shows him like dragging across the ground. He's just being crushed by all the stuff he's wearing to the point where he flat out dies. And then in one of the future episodes, he mentions like what happened in the previous episode. He mentioned how he died of a serious spinal incident. I got better. I don't know, that was just so funny. But yeah, Knuckles looks ridiculous with all of his cosmetics, and he's like wearing he's wearing sunglasses, he's wearing like these bulky things over his fists. He's got like some kind of necklace over him that allows him to breathe underwater, and he just looks like a cluttered mess. It is so ridiculous. It makes you wish those cosmetics were optional. It's like you can still keep the abilities, but you don't have to look at them dressed like that. And yeah, I think it would be fun if they ever made a remake of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, add like unlockable costumes that are optional, and give it a feature where you can actually take them on and off those, so you don't. So if you just want to see them playing as their default form, you're not forced to look at them wearing these ugly accessories. And I thought Sonic Adventure's accessories were a lot more tolerable. It's like, yeah, they were a little noticeable, but they weren't distracting though. So it's like Tails. He had like that cute little badge that allowed him to spin faster, or he had like those little anklets that allowed him to fly higher. And Amy, she wore like that feather on her head that allowed her to spin faster. It's like, yeah, they were small cosmetics, but they weren't distracting. And I've even seen fans like draw fan art of the characters wearing that stuff. So it shows that they're definitely fans of some of those accessories. I can't say the same for Knuckles' accessories in this game. I've never seen anyone make pleasant fan art out of, they never made fan art that makes Knuckles look cool and that stuff. It's like everyone agrees Knuckles looks terrible in those things. I'm gonna skip ahead a bit because, yeah, I was having some trouble in this level. It's taking me way too long. Now settle down, everyone, because Eggman has an announcement to make.
Citizens of Earth, lend me your ears and listen to me very carefully. My name is Dr. Eggman, the world's greatest scientist, and soon to be the world's greatest ruler. Now witness the beginning of the greatest empire of all time.
Okay, I don't get that. Like, this looks like it was an invention of Eggman, but it was actually an invention of Gerald Robotnik, yet. So, I don't know. Like, this feels like another one of Eggman's, like, Death Stars or Death Eggs, and
Look, half of the moon is gone?
God, Amy looks so derpy and cross-eyed in this game.
Never gives up.
People made fun of how her mouth looked in Sonic Boom, but no one ever mentions how weird her mouth looked in this game along with the other characters. Yeah, that's weird.
The reason they were looking for him. Tails?
The Chaos Emeralds are like magnets. They have the power to attract each other. I can use that to find where Eggman is.
Get on the ground? Aren't they already on the ground? What? Don't they mean like, get on your hands and knees or something like that? That's what they should have said. Knees on the ground, kneel down. Or get on the ground. That makes no sense. It can get kind of annoying how it's like every time you make a small combo, Tails just says, okay! Oh, Chow, you are the worst. So there seem to be rumors that may hint that Knuckles the Echidna will be in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie 2. And it's like, yeah, that was pretty much to be expected, but I hope Amy is still in there, though, because I hate it when, like, everyone acts like Knuckles was, there first, and so therefore he should appear first, because, I mean, technically Amy was supposed to show up, before Tails even. If I'm not mistaken, Sonic CD was made in development before Sonic 2. So, it's like, everyone acts like Tails and Knuckles were there first, Amy was a later addition, and no, Amy was, like, there before Tails and Knuckles even. And so, yeah, it's like, we already know Tails is going to be in there for sure, and a lot of people are expecting Knuckles is going to show up, even if it's just, a teaser cliffhanger ending, but it's like, we especially knew he was going to have that future in the series when they showed the Echidna tribe in Sonic 1, but it's like, yeah, Amy really needs to be introduced into it as well, and I really, you know, I really look forward to seeing how Knuckles and Amy could look in the Sonic movie universe. We already know what Tails will look like, but these shooting controls are terrible. Yeah, it's like, I think, hard to say if they decide to introduce Metal Sonic into the movie series. Hard to say if they should introduce it in Sonic Movie 2 or make a cliffhanger ending for him to appear in the third movie. I'd rather they do it that way. You know, it's hard to say what Eggman's plan will be when he gets back, though, but, I mean, it's obvious, though, that if he wants to make a Metal Sonic, he'll probably use the quill that he got a hold of in the first Sonic movie. I mean, it showed at the end how when he was stranded in another world, it showed how he still had that quill. He was going to use it to use its powers on, like, his new army of machines he's building on or whatever he is planning to use it for. And so it's like Metal Sonic would be the perfect opportunity, but I think that would be better for a cliffhanger ending for a sequel. Maybe even Knuckles too, I don't know, but it's like, I think Tails and Amy would be a good start, and then, It's like if they have Knuckles, he should appear late on the edition and kind of be treated like a villain at first, similar to how he was in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. But so Sonic 3 is when Knuckles should be heavily involved, though. And Sonic 2 could feel kind of like an inspiration of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but with a few elements of Sonic CD. And then the cliffhanger ending could be a cliffhanger for both Knuckles and Metal Sonic being in the next movie, or I don't know, but... I did it, Sonic! I destroyed the city!
Very good.
Ugh, another freaking Knuckles level.
I didn't expect the inside of the mines to be like this.
God, this level is terrible. I mean, once again, I hate the music, I hate the level design, but then you got that constant dripping effect playing in the background, and that just, like, drowns out everything. And yeah, another thing that the Sonic shorts made fun of really well, it made fun of how the music just plays way too loud in Sonic Adventure 2, because there's the part where Knuckles was giving, like, that opening narration, and I think it was the 6th Sonic Shorts collab, and he was narrating the events of the last episode, and then there's a part where he's still like, hold on a second. Jeez, could you keep that music down? Skipping ahead once again.
Sheesh, there always seems to be a lot of police around when you don't need them. Tails, any news yet?
For some reason, I'm not getting a signal from the 6 remaining Chaos Emeralds. Maybe Eggman took the emeralds into outer space. Outer space?
What was with that face? Teenage Mutant Ninja Knuckles.
Hey guys, long time no see. I must have got lost in the mines. Looking for the Master Emerald pieces was tougher than I thought it would be. Where are we anyway? Hey, where you going?
Move aside, Knuckles.
What was the point of that?
Transcripts between Eggman
I think that was lost in translation. I think like she was supposed to help get him out or something. That's what it looked like. It looked like she was trying to help. It's like you know, he was just standing there, and so she was trying to help pull him out.
Okay, let's meet up there.
Yeah. Either these cutscenes are just awkward as hell.
Wait for me, Tails.
Oh god, I hate the driving levels in this. It's especially frustrating when, like, you know, I said I tried attempting doing all the perfect runs, doing all the missions in this, and oh my god, they took forever. I don't even know how I completed them, but it's like one of them, you gotta make it to the end of the level without running out of time, but the catch is you cannot bang into any walls, and that is really hard to do. And then not to mention how there are some missions where that you can't even bang into any cars as well, and I think that's even part of the same restriction as the one where you can't bump into the walls. And that's really hard to do, though, because some of these cars come at you from behind, and there's not enough time to react to that. They just crash right into you, and that's not fair.
I'm getting closer.
It's like, I'm okay with having, like, speed runs or, you know, time challenges for those who are willing to just want to go for that stuff, but I hate it when they punish players by having unlockables that you can only get through accomplishing this stuff, and if you're not good enough for it, it's like tough luck. It's like, I hate that. That's just cruel. That's why I prefer games where you can unlock things by getting in-game currency, and the better you do in the game, the more of it you can get quicker, and you know, just save up on that and get some of the pricier stuff, and it's like, yeah, those are more fun. I'd rather play it like that. I mean, it still rewards you for doing better than most gamers, but it doesn't punish those who just can't get close to, you know, like, getting the best scores possible and all that. And I don't know, I'm just not a fan of that play style. Luckily, other Sonic games kind of tried straying away from that, though. It's like a big reward you can get for doing stuff like that now is, oh, you'll get a very hard mode or something, and so it makes you worried that, oh, there's a certain unlockable that you can only get for being very hard mode. It's like, nope, there isn't. And, but yeah, Sonic Forces tried bringing that back, come to think of it, though. There were certain cosmetics for the avatars that you could only get for completing certain trials, and some of them were really unfair. And it doesn't help that the game was really faulty at times. And it's like Sonic Lost World. I don't think that one had some time trial challenges, but it's like the least you got for beating it is just gloating rights, you know. But that's about it. Back when needing the president for help actually meant something serious.
Mr. President, reports show that since the incident 3 hours ago, the country is in turmoil. Our financial communities are impacted, and our satellite communications are down.
God, the human characters look so bad. They look like Barbie dolls.
Mr. President, this is a national crisis.
An improvement over how they look in Sonic Adventure, at least, but...
Spare me the details. Exactly just what is it that you want? Dr. Eggman.
Oh my god, that delivery was so bad. It's like a real president would be like, what do you want, Dr. Eggman? No, what do you want, Dr. Eggman? It's like, that was so awkward.
Otherwise,
your country will cease to exist. You have 24 hours to give me your answer.
No way!
what the?
Eggman Empire. Yeah, right.
What the heck's going on here?
Don't worry, Mr. President.
What did you
Everything's
do?
under control.
Doesn't the president have security?
Got it, Tails?
Seems like all he has is a secretary, no security, though.
He's transmitting from the space colony Ark.
Okay, let's move it.
Wait up, Sonic!
Hey, you, wait!
Mr. President, we're receiving an incoming signal from our agent.
Yeah, I feel like that was heavily flawed in this game. How, you know, it's revealed that Rouge was that agent, and it's like this game presents her too much as like a villain throughout. So at the end, like, well, towards the end when Shadow approaches her and confronts her as an agent for Gun, it's like that just came out of nowhere. At least Sonic X tried making more sense out of it. They actually show like how a jewel thief ended up becoming a secret agent. She was basically forced into it as punishment. It's like she either could have served arrest time or she had to work as an agent. You know, they saw her skills as being a thief useful. They could have used that to their advantage. And it's like, okay, at least they tried making sense out of it. Here, though, it felt incredibly forced. I mean, especially since there are moments where you actually see Rouge fighting the Gun robots. She's fighting her own army. It makes no sense. And it's like, it makes sense why even Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles are fighting them, though, because... You know, Sonic is framed, and he can't just stand around and let them arrest him, and so he has no choice but to fight those robots off. And then we all know why Eggman's destroying them. Tails is destroying them because he has Sonic's back, and come think of it, I don't know why they're attacking Knuckles, though, but Knuckles just happens to come across them, and he decides to attack them, but it doesn't make sense why Rouge is destroying them, though. Another one of those cases of show, don't tell. God, I hate the camera in this game. I wish it was more flexible. I hate how it's so restricted, all these weird diagonal angles, and it's no fun. Then you try moving it and it causes the game to act all wonky. It's ridiculous. The people thought the camera in Sonic 06 was bad. It's like, at least you could control it a little bit in certain areas. I'll admit it wasn't the best camera though, but it was. I can't believe anyone who thinks the camera in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 was better than the one in 06. I mean, the camera movement in Sonic 06 was mostly bad in boss battles. That was where it was really weird, how it started clipping through the floor and looking up, and it was weird looking, and it just made it look like the characters were running through midair because of that. But it's like, for most part, the levels, it's like if you're in a wide open area, it's like the camera was more flexible. There were barely any restricted areas, and it doesn't help though. The game was really wonky and glitchy though, but at least the camera movement was a little better than the actual gameplay. It's like, if I were to think, like, a video, like, when it comes to making cameras in video games, like, what are good examples of how a camera should be? It's like, I'd say the first game I can recall where it's like, when you think back to, like, what's the first game you can recall where when you saw those camera controls, you were impressed, you loved how it felt, you loved how it moved, you loved how it looked. And for me, it'd probably be Kingdom Hearts 2. And even Kingdom Hearts 3 was a good, you know, improvement of that. Or, not, I'm not sure if you'd say improvement, but a good continuation of that. And then Mario Odyssey, they tried having a very similar camera like that, where you can swerve it in certain views, and the way it clips through certain objects so you can see what's like behind or in front of it. And it's like, that made really convenient, because in old video games, when the camera got caught behind something, it would try blocking it off or try swerving around it, and it just caused the camera to act all wonky. And so it's neat how some video games nowadays have it where objects might turn a little transparent, or they tried doing something to allow the camera to swerve past these objects without it getting all wonky. And that's how a camera should be handled in video games. But it needs to do it in a way where it doesn't look distracting, though. I think this is the last level I'm going to show for part 1. That's all I have to show for now. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Have a great day.
Sonic?